Kirk Probosco here, board member for Youth Arts Collective, one of the most amazing organizations I've ever been involved in. Before we get there, before I turn it over to Darcy, our current president, Cella Restaurant is relatively new. And it looks really cool having all of you people here. The pergola is very new. We just finished that a month ago. But I was fortunate enough, about the same time that I joined YAC 10, 12 years ago, I got involved in Cooper Malera Adobe, and I'm part of the development team. And the National Trust owns it. We signed a 60-year shared use agreement with them, and we had a big celebration Thursday night in the Barns with the National Trust, and it was pretty much a pat you on the back fest. It was really cool. But most importantly, the community, you folks have embraced Cooper Malera, the gardens, Alta Bakery I own. We just opened Cella recently. But like I said, this looks really good with all of you here. I could do this again. No, anyway, and then as I was setting up this morning, I did join the board, I think in 2011, 2012. And it was really a transformation for me when I met Meg and Marcia. And I felt like one of their kids. And I know how important all of the kids going through YAC are. And you just spend time with the two of them, and it's just a warm and fuzzy feeling for me. It always has been. And they'd probably like for me to move on, but after 10, 12 years, I don't think I really want to yet. I like the warm and fuzzy. I'll always take that. But that being said, it's a rite of passage. And I was setting up this morning, and you go, you know what, this is just one of those deals that has to happen. And, you know, at my age, I was thinking of rites of passage, and, you know, it really becomes apparent when you have your children and they can wipe their ass for the first time. And then, that's a rite of passage. That's great. And now it is for YAC. It's time. It really is. Meg and Marcia have created an incredible organization, and all of the people involved, not only the YACsters, but the board members, the community, all of you folks are so integral to the success of YAC. It's a good feel. It's a great story, and it will continue. It will continue. It's as strong right now financially, since I'm the treasurer, I do know how strong it is, as it's ever been. And then you get, Jordana the Rock here, on the board. And she kind of whips us and keeps us in shape with Google. What's that Google thing? Google Drive or whatever it is. And you just go, all right. You can't teach an old dog new tricks. But anyway, it's a remarkable time for YAC. We couldn't have found two better individuals to take over for Meg and Marcia, and it was always the fear of, how do you replace these two knuckleheads? Well, you find two more great knuckleheads, and that's what we've done. So it's bittersweet, there's no doubt about it, but it's a beautiful thing when you've got Jesse and Marissa ready to step in and take over. So for right now, I'll turn you over to Darcy Foreman, current board president.
Kirk.
Hey, one more thing. You know what? This whole Cooper Malera deal, the Alta Bakery and the Cella Restaurant, it would not have happened unless I had met Vince Spungen, my partner.
Oh,
He was an incredible talent. Super creative, and he's young and strong, and I told him years ago, I'm just going to jump on your shoulders and we're going to go. But he put out the food today. You know what, this labor market, it sucks. There's no doubt about that. But that being said, that's why I'm setting it up, and Ben's doing all the food. And we have Dom helping now, which is great. But we'll break it down later, too. So, have a great time. We've got a nice little program in front of us right now. But Darcy, come on up.
Hi, everybody. Thank you, Kirk. Thank you, Kirk and Ben, for hosting this event here. We're really wanted to celebrate this momentous occasion and have it be a celebration, not a fundraising event, and you made it happen in this beautiful environment. I've been on the board for many years and president for many years, and you know, with the last few years, it's been a huge challenge for us all, and we've come through with flying colors, and now we want to celebrate this transition. And I'd like to acknowledge our dedicated YAC board. This would not have happened if we all didn't work together with Meg and Marcia so closely to make it happen. I just want to name everybody. Please hold your applause till the end. But everybody's here. Maybe you would raise your hand. So we have Kirk, and I learned everything I know about being president from him. Susan McKendry, Colleen Fry, are you here? I mean, I know you're here, but raise your hand. Bernard Trainer, Pam Carroll, Emily Southard, who greeted you at the desk, Jordana Rock, and our newest member, Jonathan Lupison. I just like to thank you. I'm going to read. Thank you for working together so diligently to support Meg and Marcia through this transition. Reimagining YAC's leadership took several years of strategic planning. And many of you here helped us with succession planning. So it's been a huge effort, and it took a lot of trust. And also, I just want to acknowledge that the board have made our board and staff retreats not only and also all the meetings productive, but also fun. So I think fun is a huge factor for YAC that we've inherited and continue. I'll just echo Kirk. We're so fortunate that Jesse and Marissa are former board members. We really had the opportunity to get to know them, and they are the perfect next generation leaders for YAC. We're thrilled to welcome you both to the staff. Also, the board would like to take this moment to recognize the staff. You make it all possible. It takes so much behind-the-scenes work to keep YAC flourishing. The staff writes grants, designs and updates the website and social media, stays on top of all the administrative tasks, and of course, mentors the YACsters, most importantly. And not just in art, but in life skills. And to Marcia and Meg, your vision, courage, and leadership over the past 23 years is inspirational. This is the crying part. Even though the time has come for this transition in leadership, we are thrilled that you will stay on as mentors for Jesse and Marissa and for the YACsters. So that's a huge thread that will continue. What you've created has not only uplifted over 1,000 emerging young artists, but has created a community of supporters who keep YAC thriving. And I want to recognize all of you supporters who are here today. We can't thank you enough for building us up over the years and into the future. YAC is stronger than ever because of you. Thank you. Now Meg will say a few words, then Marcia, and they'll introduce Jesse and Marissa.
Oh, good, it's my height. Wow. Okay, let me take a breath. First of all, thank you, Darcy, for being our fearless leader through the pandemic and through this transition. We love you dearly. You're a doll. So now some of you here may wonder if YAC's going to change. It's a legitimate question, so let me just handle that question right now. Yes. That's not what you thought, was it? It's actually just going to keep getting better. Because here are the things that are not going to change and that these two believe in 100%. It is YAC's magic, it's YAC's mentoring, and the mojo. And so it's also the feeling of YACsters when they come into their clubhouse. It's their place. There's joy in there. It's so much more than just art going on in there. And so as mentors, we will always hold a safe space for YACsters to be themselves. Trust is big here. They'll be noticed. Where everyone's voice is as important as the other person's, and that includes both mentors and YACsters. It's an extraordinary exchange. You can almost watch the rise of self-esteem when you sit there with them. We mentor the whole YACster in art and life and job skills, and we help them navigate their own lives. We tell them our stories, and we listen to theirs. It's an extraordinary collective. So I want to take a moment right now to honor our wonderful team of mentors who actually are the program. We are all professionals, working artists with big hearts and emotional intelligence. Plus, we have to know how to catch a few fastballs. So please raise your hand as I say your name. Jermaine Hatcher. And even though she got all the applause, that might take a while, so let's hold the applause until I'm done. Take it away. Peggy Kodal, Renata Abma, Natalia Corazza, Paul Richmond, who is 2 blocks away, running the YAC program right now, Andrew Jackson, who just stepped down after 12 years a mentor, and newly hired Jess Soriano and Arsenio Baca. And starting next year, Marcia Perry and Meg Biddle. I also want to mention that mentor Natalia Corazza is also an alum and has been YAC's indispensable admin assistant to Marcia and will continue to be so for you. And finally, our brilliant promotional assistant, Grace Khieu, who has raised the level of storytelling to an all-time high this year. So I passed that baton months ago because she is really good. So the success of our program is measured in so many ways. For instance, we have a list of stellar colleges that they go on to. But actually, if a kid gets into the college of their choice with scholarship, that is success. And so is starting a business or finding work that inspires them. And so is finding the partner of their lifetime who inspires them. Becoming active members of their community, becoming useful citizens. This is success. We help them steer them to become their best selves, and we've watched this happen time and time again. Some of our alumni have created very interesting lives for themselves, and here's a short list of examples. Curator and art restorer for Hearst Castle. Lead artist at Steven Spielberg's Dreamscapes Immersive. Background designer for Disney's Lion King prequel. Product designer for Apple. Designer for Vans children's shoes. Environment designer at Dolby Laboratories. Authors, illustrators, muralists, furniture designers, teachers, and the 3 youngest artists to have ever been accepted to Carmel Art Association. Many alumni have told us over the years what YAC has meant to them, and some have decided to live their lives by our motto, do art, be kind. And yes, some have tattooed that to their body. Like Cody Moore, he's got do art, be kind here. He is a sought-after costume set designer, actor, and artist at Paper Wing, Pack Rep, and Western Stage. I proudly wear the shirt he designed for me. I don't know, it was years ago. I've never found out why he thought I'd look good as a pirate with a patch, but I don't really care. And if you've met Emily Southard, you will know that she was the original YACster. I was assigned to her about the year before we started YAC as her mentor. But here's the thing. If I had time, I would tell you many stories about our alum. But this one, this story today that we are all witnessing in real time is Jessie returning to YAC to run it. Best story ever. And now here's Marcia to tell you about them.
Hi, everyone. Thank you all for being here. This dream of ours to open up an after-school art studio for teenagers has certainly come true, and it's now grown up thanks to all of you. Communal gratitude, grace, and generosity have kept YAC alive for 23 years. Whether your support, whether you're a donor, a board member, or a staff member, past and present, has helped us create a truly nurturing village for the YACsters and for all of us. I especially want to thank Janet Meyer, who has been writing our grants the last 5 years very successfully and gave us financial stability. And And a huge shout out to the local foundations and service organizations and MC Gives, all of which we would not, without their support, YAC would not exist. And also to the YACsters for showing up with your miraculous selves and doing your art and being kind. You are the soul of YAC. And I also want to thank their parents for entrusting us with them. We have literally moved into the second generation of YAC. We just this year welcomed in a daughter of an original YACster. So Meg and I have moved from being YAC mamas to YAC grandmas. And YAC belongs to and in this community. It is our greatest responsibility to ensure that your investment in ours continues to go on far into the future. And now is the right time to pass our roles of executive director and program director to the very best people. I've often said what we need and who we need comes to YAC when we need it. I've seen it happen time and time again. And in this case, it's especially true. When Jessie and Marissa, we asked them over a year ago of whether they would take on these roles, and when they said we do, I felt the same way as when our daughter Celia was accepted into Stanford, that this child of ours, this place that we created, will be just fine going forward. And this is why. First, I'm going to tell you about Marissa. We met Marissa at the Boys and Girls Club at least a decade ago. She ran the arts program there for 14 years. Her energy, her wonderful energy, love of kids and art, and her immense kindness are apparent upon meeting her. We were lucky enough to have her join our board 4 years ago, and she brought all her organizational skills. She's helped with strategic planning and event coordination. Marissa also just received her credential for teaching visual art. She has the energy, emotional intelligence, and creative talent to do whatever is needed needs done to support YAC's program. And now about Jesse. So Jesse, this is sort of kind of nepotism, because Jesse was kind of one of our chosen sons early on. He showed up in 2001 at YAC, and it became apparent that he was like the older, wiser kid that the other kids went to for help and advice. And he would let us know when somebody was in trouble. And he became our first intern. And then after Jesse left, we started receiving wonderful donations from him, and which was a first for any YACster to be able to do, let alone do. And his parents owned a restaurant in Salinas for years and years, and Jesse ended up running it. And in my opinion, if you can run a restaurant successfully, you can pretty much run any business. Right, Kirk? Wherever you are. Jesse also joined our board and was the treasurer for 3 years. After he sold his family restaurant, Jesse pivoted into nonprofit work and nonprofit development. He worked at the Boys and Girls Club, which hats off to the Boys and Girls Club for producing such wonderful people on their staff and their kids. He recently served as president of Seaside Rotary Club. Jesse is honest, smart, kind, and full of integrity. And to top it off, Jesse and Marissa are best friends, kind of like Meg and I, but not exactly. Both are accomplished artists in their own right and have a lot to bring to the table to the YACsters. We are fully confident that Jesse and Marissa will lead YAC and YAC's team of YAC artist mentors, including the two of us, with the same amount of love and dedication that we have for the past 23 years. Uh-oh, it's upside down. I just want to thank you all once again for any and every which way each one of you played a part in Youth Arts Collective's success and making Meg's and my dream come true. Your investment of your time and your financial support in YAC has helped over 1,000 young creatives along their way to making their lives better, more creative, and happier. Thanks to all of us here, we are able to hand over a very healthy organization to Jesse and Marissa to take forward into the future. And now it is with tremendous joy that I introduce Marissa Serna, YAC's upcoming program director, followed by Jesse Juarez, our incoming executive director. Do art, be kind, and thank you.
Hi everybody, my name is Marissa Serna. I am YAC's incoming program director. I appreciate you all coming out today in support of this incredible organization. I began my career at Boys and Girls Club and stayed for 14 years, developing their arts program, but also wearing lots of different kinds of leadership hats, as one does in the nonprofit world, if y'all are familiar. But learned so much about what it takes to run a successful organization, as well as being a very sensitive and impactful mentor. So I'm incredibly thankful for that professional development experience, and thank all of you who may also be a part of that community as well. I've also been on YAC's board, as Marcia had so kindly described. We prepared for 2 years. We created a strategic plan to help prepare the organization for this really big milestone, this succession, and to help ensure that the board is so much stronger for it. This past year, I earned my teaching credential as well. I learned from the kids over at Watsonville High, and go Wildcats. And I learned, I think the most significant thing that I learned there is knowing how to curate a visual art space for diverse learners and students with disabilities, as well as knowing how to advocate for my students within the school system. Throughout my professional experience, both as a mentor and as a teacher, there are three main developmental needs that our YACsters, that our youth need. The first is that they have a space they can identify with, that they really claim as theirs, that's co-curated by very trustworthy mentors. And yes, physical safety is the #1 priority, but emotional safety and emotional wellness is right up there with it. The second is that our YACsters get the opportunity to develop really deep and personal, close friendships with one another. And those skills help them later develop adult relationships and really be happy individuals. The third is that our teens, our YACsters, get a chance to play and make mistakes. And yes, teens need to play. This is what Meg lovingly refers to as taking that creative risk. It's what employers out there are looking for in the top-notch employees. But I think most importantly, it's also how our youth and our YACsters get to trust in their own voice and in their own ingenuity and develop that confidence to do what they love to do. So Marcia, Meg, Jesse, and myself have a shared vision, and that's to ensure that YAC grows with the needs of the future generation of young artists. And about a week and a half ago or so, a reporter had asked me if how I felt about this new role and if I had butterflies in my stomach or if I was a little nervous. And I really sat with that question and thought about it, really sat and really looked in my heart to see if there was any real anxiety or worry. And I couldn't find any. And it's not because I have an abundance of self-confidence. It's because that I have this incredible, beautiful community to lean on. We have our hardworking board. We have our founders who are staying on as mentors. We have these world-class artists that our YACsters are so lucky to call their mentors. I have my good friend of 15 years coming on as executive director, and every single person in this space today. Thank you so much for being a part of this beautiful community that we can lean on to mentor the next generation of wonderfully talented and creative minds. Thank you. Thank you. I'd like to introduce you to my good friend of 15 years, our brand new incoming executive director, Jesse Juarez III.
Hello, everyone. Oh, boy. Well, welcome, everyone. My name is Jesse Juarez. I am the incoming executive director here at Youth Arts Collective. And I just want to thank you all for being here today. And first off, I just want to give a personal thanks to a number of people, to Meg, Marcia, to our talented mentors, and one of the most dedicated board of directors I've had the pleasure of working with. Thank you for all the support you have given Marissa and I over the past 2 weeks of training. And during that training, I think everybody in this room has the experience of starting a new position somewhere, getting to know your environment, getting to know your new colleagues, asking little questions like, oh, where do we keep the Post-it notes? Or in the case of YAC, where do we keep the ultramarine blue? And no matter what job you start, you're always going to have a little bit of a learning curve. But the big difference here is that for Marissa and I, this is much more than just a job. I remember when Meg and Marcia approached us and asked us about taking on these positions, I just remember my mind just feeling this flurry of thoughts and emotions, and I remember thinking, oh my gosh, is this what my wife felt like when I asked her to marry me? I just remember feeling nervousness and excitement and confidence and all these different thoughts, and then all of them just swirling to this giant swell, and then all of a sudden there was this calm. I just remember this feeling of overwhelming calm. It's a kind of calmness you feel when you know you're making the right decision. As Marcia noted, I am the former owner of Rosita's Cafe in downtown Salinas. It was a business which my father had started back in the early 1970s, and which I continued. And while it felt good to continue something that he had started, at the same time, it wasn't really my calling. So in 2018, I decided I was going to pivot and transition to working in the nonprofit sector. I found a wonderful position working as an administrative assistant with the Boys and Girls Clubs of Monterey County. And there's a number of people at that organization I want to give a shout out to, but for the sake of time, I got a chance to work closely with Mr. Ron Johnson, Mr. Andrew Vai, and Ms. Nikki Guichet. And working with these individuals, working closely with them, it gave me a chance to work alongside some of the hardest working nonprofit professionals in this area, and it made me realize that my heart belonged in the nonprofit sector. But before all that, before my work at the Boys and Girls Clubs, before my work at the restaurant, I was, and still am, a YACster. I have known and loved this organization for more than half of my life. And admittedly, I remember spending many years as a young person thinking I was just some disposable weird kid who liked to draw. I remember spending a lot of years feeling that way. And then when I came to YAC, that place gave me a sense of love, a sense of community, and the social skills I needed to realize my self-worth. So the time I spent as a YACster made me realize that I was passionate for the arts, that I was passionate for creativity and inspiring creativity in others. And later, as an adult, I came to realize I was equally passionate about working in the nonprofit sector. And now, moving forward, as an executive director, I hope to combine those two passions and help YAC move forward. And in saying thanks to so many different people, there's another group I have yet to say thank you to, and that is to the YACsters themselves. Thank you for welcoming Marissa and I into your lives. We realize you probably had a lot of questions when you heard about this transition. Who's Marissa? Who's Jesse? What are they going to do with YAC? The bottom line is, we're going to do the same thing that Meg and Marcia have done since day one. We're going to tailor the program to fit the program to the needs of the individual YACster. So our promise to you is that if you're willing to come to YAC and do two things, one, do art, and two, be kind, and that means being kind to each other and to yourselves, then we will do everything in our power to make sure that YAC is here for you and that YAC is here for future generations. Because the bottom line is, YAC is resilient. This organization has survived 2 recessions and a global pandemic. Resilience is in the DNA of YAC, and resilience is in the DNA of our YACsters. So thank you. Do art, be kind.